morning, my neighbors. There's an entire generation of people who will never forget those iconic lines by Eddie Murphy in Coming to America. So it might not be morning at the moment, but it just passed through my mind, and I figured it would be a nice way to welcome you to 15 minutes with Devan. So today I'll be weighing in on the Tega and Boma saga, currently playing itself out on Big Brother Nigeria. The show, I think this is season 6 or so. I'm not very certain. I don't follow the show. I'm not a huge fan. So, but I know that this particular season debuted toward the end of July. So it's been on now for about 6 weeks or so. Of course, they've started the elimination process. A number of people have left the house. So the chances are getting better and better as the weeks progress, for a winner to be produced soon. And although I don't follow the show, of course, it's very, very popular in Nigeria. In fact, it's a global franchise. And I have people at home who watch it religiously. I have young adults in the house who are very keen on the program. So I get to pick snippets of what's going on. I have an idea of what's going on. I'm not completely in the dark. And of course, from different social media sites, particularly Facebook, I've seen people complaining bitterly. There's been this particular one that I've heard, so many complaints, people lamenting about how boring it has been and so on and so forth. And I usually, reading between the lines, that usually means that if they are complaining that it is boring, then it means that nobody has exposed themselves to enough scandals for our viewing pleasure, so to speak. So when I heard people complaining that the show was boring, I knew that was where they were headed to. Anyway, courtesy of Tega and Boma, it appears that things have livened up considerably in the last few days. In the last couple of days, they've been trending. And of course, if I'm talking about relationships and things like this, then of course I have to weigh in. Ordinarily, I try to keep myself out of married people, particularly. I try to keep my mouth out of their business. But in this particular case, one of them is married, and the business is all out there in the public for public commentary. So I may as well weigh in with my thoughts. So for those who are not aware, Tega is a married woman. Boma is a bachelor. They're both housemates. I almost said inmates. They're both housemates in the current Big Brother Nigeria show. And if I recall, the show lasts approximately 3 months or 100 days or something like that. And whoever the winner is, it's a high stakes show. I think the prize money right now is something close to about 100 million naira, which is not chicken change, not by any standards. So naturally, people come into the house with various strategies. Some people come in with the express aim of being as controversial and absurd and scandalous as possible to try and keep, the ratings up, make sure they remain in the house, because I guess the reasoning behind that is if I keep myself scandalous enough, people will want to see more of me, so the chances of voting me out will be slimmer. That's what I think anyway. And then perhaps people are just being authentic, because I've had a long relationship with the camera, and I know that there comes a time when, you just forget that there's a camera in front of you, and you just live out your life. Your true self just comes out. Okay? If you're not acting a movie, if it's a reality thing, at some point, who you actually are pops out. So the chances of somebody coming into the house, staying there for 3 months, and acting every day for those 3 months is very slim. At some point, there will be a slip up, and the person's, their true self will come out. That's my take on this whole thing, anyway. Tega is married with a child, and Boma, I don't know much about Boma. I know that he's single, and at the moment, it appears as if they are in some kind of how did Jada Pinkett put it that time? They're I don't recall the word, but it appears they're in a situationship at the moment. I wouldn't call it a relationship. They have not explicitly come out to say that they have something going on, but they've been very touchy-feely with each other. There've been a lot of kisses exchanged. There's been a lot of snuggling and hugging and canoodling and intimacy going on. I don't know if they've gone all the way, but it does seem as if they are not particularly averse to touching each other and being, very physically affectionate with each other. So for a married woman who already has a child, you begin to wonder, in this case, Tega is the married woman, Boma is the guy. You wonder, okay, is this something she and her husband reached an agreement on? Okay, if I go into the Big Brother house, remember, we're playing for high stakes here, so whatever I do, we already have an understanding that it's okay. Because in the long run, I want to bring the bag home, so you need to relax and let me do my thing and bring the bag home. There are couples who can reach an agreement like that and do their thing, and as long as it works for them, none of my business, okay? But I've also been made to understand that when the situation came out, when it became public knowledge, that the husband came out to, say that he also has let his wife down, because at a point in their marriage, she came home and found him, in a compromising position with somebody else in their matrimonial home. And I can only imagine how jarring that would be for anybody who would experience it. Certainly it's not something I would ever want to put my partner through, and it's certainly something I myself wouldn't want to be subjected to. I don't think there's any married couple who are, in a vibrant marriage that would want to experience that kind of thing. So I don't know how long ago that happened. I don't know how they resolved it. I don't know if it's still something very fresh, maybe something that happened just before she came into Big Brother house, and such the negative vibes are still resonating in her mind, or what, I really don't know. But be that as it may, they're still married, they have a child together. Boma is single. Now for me, when I use these terms, if you are not yet married, as far as I'm concerned, you are single. And this is not me trying to cast aspersions on anybody's relationship. You will never find any form that you are asked to fill, and then the options are married, in a relationship. So there's nothing like in a relationship. You are either married or you are single. There could be option for divorced, widowed, and things like that, but there's nothing like relationship. It's not recognized as an official anything. So Boma is single, as far as I know. Tega is married. Now this is a complex situation, and one that makes her come off not looking very nice, as the case might be. Yes, the husband has been mature enough to step up, own his nonsense, and say, I subjected this woman to something just as bad, so I own it. If she's trying to get back at me, I get where it's coming from. But over time, the small bits and pieces of Big Brother, be it Big Brother Africa or Big Brother Nigeria, I've seen, I've come to realize that in a certain way, Nigerians are still somewhat conservative when it comes to things like this. Because even the men that are married, when they are in the house, They're held to a certain standard. Yeah? So when they start acting up, this person is married now, why did he do this? And I find that impressive, because there was a time in our culture when if there was any infidelity in the marriage, the man could get away with it, but if it was the woman, all hell, would be let loose. So it's refreshing to see that even men are being called out. Why did you do this? You are married. You shouldn't be conducting yourself in such a manner on live TV. So if even men are being called out, naturally, Tega is also coming under fire. What's wrong? What's up? And so on. I don't know what's going on in the marriage. However, for me, and this is purely hypothetical, if I were ever to find myself in such a situation, to the extent that I was able to forgive that thing that happened and continued with the marriage, I will do everything in my power not to pay back or take revenge. It's ingrained in us as human beings to want to seek justice at all costs. But there's a difference between justice and revenge. Justice, this is just me thinking out loud. To me, I view justice as an impartial assessment of both sides of the matter, and then apportioning the right kind of measures or punishment. Revenge, on the other hand, sometimes is biased, tends to go overboard, and is always deeply personal. Yes, in a marriage, things will get personal, but if your spouse has hurt you and you've been able to come away from that thing and you've moved on from it, or even if you haven't moved on, if you're still hurting, and she probably still is, there are certain things you cannot forget in a hurry, no matter how hard you try, no matter how forgiving you are. But for me, what I would do is I would seek justice in the matter. Maybe at some kind of family gathering, the families on both sides would have to know that this is what has happened. We would have to sit down and work on our marriage and see where I failed you so much that you felt like the only thing you needed to do, instead of us sitting down to solve the problem, was to go and bring a third party into our home. That would be, for me, that would be my preferred option. And if we're not able to reach a resolution, and I get the vibe that this is the kind of thing that might continue, then we might seriously begin to consider if we have a marriage at all. That's what I would rather do, especially when there's a child involved. Now, maybe based on feelings of unhappiness, feelings of betrayal, and so on and so forth, Tega may have forgotten that this thing she's doing is being documented for posterity. Her son will probably, or daughter, I don't know the sex of the child in question. The child in question will grow up and have that content possibly thrown at them. If she's trying to take revenge on the husband because of something he has already done to her, she should remember that when you marry, you don't marry just the person, or you marry into a family. Did she bring their attention to this thing their son did to hurt her? Is it that she brought their attention to it and they didn't do anything about it, so she now feels compelled to take the matter completely into her own hands and handle it as best she sees? I don't know. That said, I wish Tega luck. The husband sounds like he has eaten humble pie and is willing to overlook it. If it is a strategy to win, I really do hope that she comes home with the bag, because that might, justify the way she went about getting it. Whatever it is, that's my take on if you notice, I didn't even say anything about Boma at all. Why? At the end of the day, what happens between a man and a woman in their marriage is entirely on their head, both of them. There's no way Boma, a single man, would have anything to do with Tega if she did not give him the green light. And she is the one who is married to somebody, not Boma. Boma does not owe Tega's husband loyalty. He doesn't. It's Tega that was. That's why I focused strictly on her. And this is not a case of woman bashing. I would have done the same thing if it was a guy that went in there, a married man went in there and fooling around. So I am looking at this thing from the perspective of the fact that Tega is married, not that Tega is a woman. Whether you are male or female, as long as you are married, at least within the Christian concept, there are certain things you owe your spouse. And one of them is fidelity. So in Tega's case, the husband drew first blood by cheating on her in such a horrendous way that he had the gall to bring that person into their home. So maybe she's taking her pound of flesh. Be that as it may, I hope the issue is resolved in their favor. I hope the marriage thrives. I hope they're able to sort out their problem. And I hope that she brings home the bag, you know. At the end of the day, Big Brother Nigeria is a game. That's what everybody says.